Yeah, we back. Yeah, we back. Now, today we're going to be talking about France has been kicked out of the Central African nation of Chad. Now, in yet another devastating blow for the French government, another African nation has decided to terminate all military agreements with France. Now, this is interesting because the president of France, I believe his name is Mohamed Deby, that's somebody who I never expected this from because his administration was protected and supported by France ever since he came to power after the death of his father. And I remember in previous videos, I even used him as an example to basically highlight the hypocrisy of France because he came to power in a military coup d'etat in the same way that Ibrahim Traoré came to power, the president of Mali came to power, and the president of Niger came to power. But for some reason, he was never condemned by the French government. He was never condemned by the Western powers. So I always believed that he was working in their interests. So this news today comes as a surprise to me. But listen, when it comes to politics, there are no friends in politics. We don't have any friends in politics. Only economic interests, strategic interests. That is it. We don't have no loyalty to outsiders. We don't have no loyalty to the European colonists. We could shake the white man's hand today and we could turn around and stab him in the back tomorrow. It don't even matter. So that's one lesson that black men can take from this situation, right? So Mohamed Deby had used France's support to solidify his administration, to solidify his rule, right? But now he's decided to turn around and stab him in the back, right? Tell him, get the fuck out the country. You know, it is what it is, man. You know, it is what we don't got no loyalty to the white boy. And let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. Chad ends the defense cooperation agreement with France. The decision is another blow to France's position in Africa. The Central African country has announced the termination of its military cooperation agreement with France. The Chad Foreign Ministry said the country wants to fully assert its sovereignty. Chad said on Thursday that it was ending its defense cooperation with France in a decision that could see French soldiers withdraw from the Central African country. The government of Chad informs national and international opinion of the decision to end the accord in the field of defense signed with the French Republic. Now, listen, brothers, the reason why I say we don't have any loyalty to these individuals is because throughout history, have they not done the same thing to us? Have they not acted like they were down with us, riding with us in order to get their agenda accomplished? And as soon as the scenario was no longer in their interest, they turned around and stabbed us in the back. They turned around and tried to kill us. They turned around and tried to overthrow the government. Did they not engage in these same behaviors towards us throughout history? So that's why I say we don't owe them any loyalty. We could look them in the eye and shake their hand today, and we could stab them in the back tomorrow. It don't even matter. We're talking about men who are straight liars. They go into media and they lie. They go into history books and they lie. All they do is lie. So we don't owe any loyalty to men whose culture has been built on a foundation of lies. And when it comes to President Mohamed Deby, listen, we know back in the day, yes, we understand back in the day, you know, he was riding, he was taking trips to France, he was riding with President Macron. But now if he decides today that he wants to turn his back and go in a different direction, listen, I'm riding with the brother. I'm rocking with the brother, right? If he wants to go in a more sovereign, dignified direction, I'm rocking with the brother. I'll take my brothers back in. You know, when it comes to the European colonists, I don't fuck with you. But when it comes to my brothers, I can sit at the table with my brothers and have a conversation. You know, listen, we could take you back into the fold if you want to ride with a team, bro. Now, let's continue. In yet another blow to France's position in Africa, Senegal's president told French TV on Thursday that it was inappropriate for French troops to maintain a presence in the country. Yes, I'm gonna do a video on this too. But the president of Senegal also, yes, on the same exact day that the president of Chad did it, he also told the French military, it's time to go, right? It's time to go, man. You don't gotta go home, but you gotta get the hell up out of here. Now, it's interesting, this decision taken by the president of Chad, because recently I saw that he was pictured having a meeting with the president of Niger, as you can see right here, right? And I believe Chad and Niger are next door neighbors. And like I said before, as a sovereign nation, you could wake up on any given day and decide, you know what, snap of a finger, I want to go in a different direction. And you're allowed to do that because as a sovereign nation, you can do whatever the hell you want. And like I said, we don't owe any loyalty to the European colonists, especially not the white Frenchmen, right? In fact, I would even go further to say it's actually honorable to be dishonorable towards the European colonists. Yes, I repeat, it's actually honorable to be dishonorable with the European colonists. Yes, I agree. It's actually honorable to turn around and stab him in the back. It's honorable to fuck him over. That's what I believe. I believe that it's honorable to shake his hand one day and then double cross him the next day. I believe that it's an honorable thing to be dishonorable towards our enemies. Because like I said before, Throughout history, that's how they operated with us. Shake the black man's hand one day, try to kill the black man the next day. You could take the most famous example, Toussaint Louverture, right? Served as a general in the French army for many years, right? Defended the French colony against the incursions from the British and the Spanish. Rose to the high ranks in the French government. And then, once he decided that he wanted to assert his sovereignty and assert his independence, what did the French government do? Turn around, kidnap him, and kill him in prison. And then tortured his wife, almost killed his wife too. You could take the example of Sekou Touré of Guinea, right? Back in the 1950s and the 1960s. When African nations were gaining their independence, right? He originally had the support of the French, but when he decided to assert his sovereignty and say that, you know what, I want to do my own thing. I want to be truly independent. I want to diversify my partnerships. I want to do my own thing. I want to chart my own course. What did the French government do? They tried to destroy his economy. They tried to destroy his administration. Back in 1960, take a look up on the screen. Operation Persil was a 1960 covert operation by the French government aimed at destabilizing the post-independence government of Guinea due to the Ghanaian president Sekou Touré's rejection of the CFA franc and a successful campaign for Ghanaian independence. Before obtaining independence, West and Central African countries faced pressures to use the CFA franc, a currency backed by the French treasury. Under Sekou Touré's leadership, Guinea rejected the membership in the CFA franc region and established its own currency. The French decided to retaliate. Their intelligence agency dropped bags full of counterfeit Ghanaian francs printed in France from helicopters and planes around the country in 1959. Known as Operation Persil, it lasted for months, leaving the Ghanaian economy in dire state. Sekou Touré was one of the earlier victims of a neocolonial doctrine called France-Africa, a term used to describe clandestine interventions, operations, and illicit business activities carried out by France in order to protect its interests. In response to the vote for immediate and total independence, the vindictive French settlers and colonists in Guinea were quite dramatic in severing ties with Guinea, with many French civil servants destroying Ghanaian infrastructure as they departed the country as an act of vengeance for Ghanaians voting to become independent. The Washington Post observed how brutal the French were in tearing down what they thought was their contributions to Guinea. In reaction and as a warning to other French-speaking territories, the French pulled out of Guinea over a 2-month period, taking everything they could with them. They unscrewed light bulbs, removed plans for sewage pipelines, and even burned medicines rather than leave them for the Ghanaians. So before Guinea decided that they wanted full and total independence, the French had claimed to be their allies, right? They claimed to be their friends, right? But as soon as Sekou Touré decided that, you know what? I want to be sovereign and independent. I want to be the master of my own destiny. You know what they did? They destroyed the infrastructure, destroyed the economy, flooded the country with a bunch of fake banknotes, burned all the medicine, destroyed all the medicine. So even if your grandmother needed some medicine, they wanted your grandmother to die. And they also flooded the country with a bunch of weapons, right? They tried to send weapons into the country to destabilize the government, right? The same thing they still do today. Why do you think it's so many terrorists running around the Sahel right now? Where do you think those terrorists in flip-flops got those modern weapons from? They got a bunch of modern military equipment. Where do you think a bunch of jihadists living in poverty were able to gather enough money to get all this steady supply of modern military weaponry from? Obviously, they're being funded from somebody behind the scenes. And now I'm hearing that the terrorists in the Sahel, they got drones now too. Come on, man. Some things never change, bro. Some things never change. Another example of the French stabbing a black man in the back was the story of King Henry Christophe. Like I mentioned in the video last week about Malcolm X, I spoke about how the son of King Henry Christophe, his firstborn son, his 11-year-old son, was killed by the French government back in 1805, right? The French had kidnapped the son of King Henry Christophe, the king of Haiti, right, back in 1805, and they were using his son as a hostage during negotiations, right, basically saying that, you know, we got your son in custody, so you better capitulate our demands. Now, back in 1805, this was before he became the king of Haiti. At this point, he was simply a general in the Haitian army back in 1805, but the French had his son in custody, and they used that as a point of leverage. Now, Christophe being a black man of unshakable character, right, impregnable character, he never cracked under the pressure. He never folded, even when the French had his son in custody. Now, unfortunately, that resulted in his son being killed. And I use that as an example because for those of you guys who are familiar with Christophe's life story, then you know that his military career began at the age of 12 years old as a child soldier, right? 12 years old as a child soldier in the French military. Christophe was able to obtain his freedom from slavery as a teenager by enlisting in the military of France, in the French military. And during his teenage years, Christophe served in the American War of Independence, right? When the American colonists were battling against the British for their independence. A lot of people don't know, but the French had assisted the Americans in their battle for independence. And the French had also sent a regiment of black troops. And Christophe was one of those black troops. As a teenager, he came to the United States. He went to Georgia. He went to Florida, things like that. He spent his teenage years in the southern United States during the American War of Independence. And in fact, I believe there's a monument in Georgia that pays tribute to the black troops that came to assist the American government in their battle for independence. Take a look up on the screen. I believe down in Georgia, they got this statue, of the black troops, the black Haitian troops, right? And you see the drummer boy to the left. You see the boy playing the drums? That's Christophe, right? That's Christophe playing the drums, right? And Christophe's service in the French military did not stop there, because when he came back to the colony and he had his freedom, he also spent a short time in the local colonial militia, right? So he also served in the colonial militia, and then he served in the French army, just like Toussaint Louverture, when they were battling incursions from the British and the Spanish trying to invade the colony. He defended the colony on behalf of France. But then later on, when he decided to assert his independence, he wanted to fight for independence, he became seen as an enemy of France, right? So even after serving in the French military since he was 12 years old, the French turned around and killed his firstborn son, simply because he was no longer working in their economic interest, simply because he was no longer working in their geopolitical interest. So that goes to show you, the European colonist has no problem stabbing you in the back. You could serve in his military your entire life. He'll still turn around and kill your firstborn son. He'll turn around and burn the medicine so your grandmother can't even get the medicine she needs. He'll turn around and throw you in prison after serving as a loyal general. This is what France has done to the black man throughout history. And that's why I say I have no problem with President Mohamed Deby, the president of Chad, betraying the French, turning their back on the French, stabbing the French in the back. I have no problem with that. I have no issue with that. Like I said, there are no friends in politics. We have no friends. Fuck you, bro. We only have geopolitical interest. We only have strategic interest. We have no friends. We have no loyalty to the European colonists. We have nothing but disloyalty to the European colonists. Fuck you, bro. I stab you in the back 100 times. Now, let's take a look at some of the reactions on social media. This person said, Deby has finally understood things. Now, he must protect himself. I agree. This person said, excellent news. France is a terrorist country that does not hesitate to use mafia methods to intimidate African countries. This person said, for France, this is a major psychological blow. After having lost Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, Chad was the France-Africa country. I have met so many French diplomats and officers who served in Chad or whose grandfather served in Chad. Now, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Another domino has fallen. And I'm going to do a video on Senegal, the president of Senegal, demanding that the French military leave the country also. But, it is what it is, man. France was definitely a strategic partner for France for a very long time. For decades and decades, they provided support to whatever regime was in power, whatever administration was in power. It is what it is, man. But now it's time to go, bro. It's time to go. It's time to pack up the military base. It's time to go. Let's continue. This person said, the French government is losing all of its allies because of a deaf and disastrous policy. France is moving to a higher level of debt compared to Greece. Unfortunately, the end is coming soon. The LFI, I think that's a political party in France, must come and restore the greatness of France. Now, I don't know. The LFI, I think that's like a left-wing political party in France. I don't know, man. I don't know if the leftists are going to be able to, restore France to its, previous glory. It is what it is, man. You guys had your day in the sun, and it's time to sail off into the sunset and go to the cemetery. Let's continue. This person said, predictable. France has saved its dictator's ass several times. Another strategic but sulfurous alliance is running away. Perhaps an opportunity to stop messing with the wrong people, but undoubtedly another strategic blow. Now, I'm assuming this person is a Frenchman. Obviously, he's mad, right? He's very upset. He's like, oh man, this is a devastating blow. This is the dictator. But you wasn't calling him a dictator when he was going to France and shaking Macron's hand. He wasn't a dictator back then, now was he? Right? He wasn't a dictator when Macron was going over to Chad and linking up with the military and taking photos for Instagram. He wasn't a dictator back then, now was he? Right? But now we told you to get the fuck out the country. Now all of a sudden he's a dictator. This is the first time I ever heard Mohamed Deby being referred to as a dictator. dictator ever. At first, I thought it was the Democratic leader, right? But now he's a dictator because he told you get the fuck out the country. That's hilarious to me. But anyways, that's the hypocrisy of our enemies, right? That's the nature of our enemies. Anyways, it's your boy Nepakari, that's Salim back in the building. Yes, indeed. Cash App in the description. Support the channel, man. Support the album. Peace.
No. Feel like I'm 75. Know that your team be full of them traders. You know that can never be mine. I'm grabbing a thought when I drive. I'm back in my zone and we on. She said that she ready to come be my wife, yeah, hoping I don't do her wrong. I gave her my word in this bond. I'm whipping the best like a lamb. I mean no chicken and lamb. Accustomed to call me the man. I never be up on the gram. I'm keeping that way undercover. She want me to tell her I love her. I told her I'm breaking the rules. I told her we making the news. Back in my city they loving me. Standing alone I'm 100 deep. Enemy plotting and still in reach. They trying to make sure that we underneath. Trying to make sure that we never make it. Coming for power, come get acquainted. Coming for everything that I wanted. Feeling like Drake but I really wrote it. Feeling like Kendrick, I'm checking names. Gotta roll up while I go insane. Got so much stress I been gained weight. Stuffing these racks in this Louis case. One thing for certain, I'm about to shake. Keep it 100 and nothing less. Stick with the family since day one. Had to stay down till my day come. Had to stay down but I'm never patient. Hop on the mic and I'm motivated. Hop on the mic and I drop a classic. Haters can't see me, they copping glasses. Back in the studio making magic. Got a new tape and it's in production. Back on my business, I got a budget. Staying low key when I'm out in public. Feel like I'm 75. Know that your team be full of them traders. You know that can never be mine. I'm grabbing a thought when I drive. I'm back in my zone and we on. She said that she ready to come be my wife, yeah, hoping I don't do her wrong. I gave her my word in this bond. I'm whipping the best like a lamb. I mean no chicken and lamb. Accustomed to call me the man. I never be up on the gram. I'm keeping that way undercover. She want me to tell her I love her. I told her I'm breaking the rules. I told her we making the news. Making the news, making the news, breaking the rules, yeah, know that we making the news, yeah.